So I don't know how to explain this other than to say I bought something that is a total mystery to me. I have very vague specs from the eBay listing, and that's pretty much it. I figured, what the heck, let's spend 40 bucks and see what we get. I don't even know if this thing turns on, but we're gonna find out. Stay with me. To get rid of that annoying Windows activation watermark, head on over to VIP SCD Key. Purchase a Windows 10 Pro OEM key for a fraction of the price of retail. Just use a secure payment method like PayPal, enter your product key into your PC settings window, and say bye-bye to the watermark. And be sure to use our offer code SKGS for a sweet discount. Let's see what we have then, shall we? A lot of paper, a lot of bubble wrap. That's a good thing. Oh yeah, and here she is. Still wrapped up. And no, I promise this is not a genuine Toyota car part. You know, considering what I paid for this, I think it would be a huge win if it even turns on. This packing material is a bit excessive, but I'd rather have excessive versus not enough. And here it is, our Think Center. My oh my, this is a throwback. All I really know is that there's a Core i5 in here, but I'm not sure what generation. Also, this case is very wobbly. Can you tell this is already going well? I'm gonna read you the listing description, and I wanna disclose up front, I normally would entertain listings like this. Of course, if you're not gonna bother listing the specifications of the product you're trying to sell, it's not worth my time. It shouldn't be worth yours, frankly, either. But in this case here, because I expect the owner thought that this was just a junk rig, because apparently there are issues with it, they probably suspected that the buyer wouldn't care either what was inside. Maybe they'd use it for scrap or something. So the description says, Lenovo ThinkCentre M series computer for parts / not working. Computer turns on but does not get past the first screen. See pictures for what is on the first screen. Computer has some cosmetic damage. Please see pictures for all details and damage. Computer does not come with a power cord or any other cords. Computer comes as is. Now again, you see stuff like this and you start to hesitate. At least that's what a normal person would do. I saw this and then I said, oh, for 40 bucks, oh, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. I mean, at the very least, it doesn't work and what, I'm out 40 bucks? But the telltale sign that this actually was a working rig was the picture of the post. This screen here is only telling us that there's no operating system installed on any drive detected. That's a very easy fix, if in fact that is the only issue here, and that's more or less what I'm banking on, so let's see if this old Think Center has a bit of life left in her. Oh, okay. Wow, actually surprisingly clean in here. First off, we've got either a 270 or a 280 watt power supply. Let's check on these bad boys. And okay, I'm liking it so far. 4 gig DIMMs a piece, that's 8 gigs in total for a system like this. I'm not gonna complain. Now, I'm not seeing a storage drive in here, but that shouldn't be surprising based on this photo. The system does come with a 5¼ inch DVD drive. And the last thing to check is the CPU. Normally I'd remove the cooler at this point, but I think the system's gonna be a bit fragile. I'd rather not touch this until after we attempt a first boot. I didn't say this earlier and I should have. We're looking at a DDR3 system, so at the newest Haswell, right? Devil's Canyon, but probably something like Sandy Bridge or Ivy Bridge, so Intel i5 2400 if I had to guess. Now, since this desktop does not have integrated graphics, we're at the mercy of the motherboard's rear I/O. For some reason we have a DisplayPort port, but not an HDMI port, and that's all that I have portable monitor-wise to connect to. So I'm going to insert a very weak graphics card that doesn't need supplemental PCIe power and run off of that. And to be clear, this should have no bearing on this message, which is drive and OS dependent. This will just give us a picture out. And thankfully, the system has a legitimate PCIe slot and not just a PCI slot, so it's not too old. Just making sure that the power strip is on. That's an inside joke for the loyal viewers. Here we go, power to the unit. Nothing's blown up so far. And power button. Where's the power button on this thing? Aha, here we go. Okay, 2 beeps, and right away a post. Oh yeah, no operating system found, repeat boot sequence automatically in X amount of seconds. That is totally normal. There's nothing actually wrong with this rig apart from what we suspected, the system not having a storage drive and an operating system. Could it really be that simple then? Did the previous owner just not know what was wrong with it, even though it very clearly said there's just no operating system attached? Maybe they didn't care because it was so old? Hey, one man's trash is another man's treasure, and this man here has an SSD. We're ready to get Windows on this, hopefully. Now, yes, I am using a 2.5 inch drive because there are no M.2 slots on this board. Again, not the end of the world considering the price we paid. We're pretty much ready to go. It's a 2.5-inch solid state drive, so we can just leave it sitting literally anywhere. Let's get it fired back up. But before that, I also want to install our Windows media drive. This way we can get the ball rolling, hopefully on a Windows install. It would be huge if we could get this thing to post and run stable. Just toss in a discrete card and you've got a sub $100 potentially PC that can actually game somewhat in, yes, 720p and maybe some 1080p, but for the price, I can't complain. I feel like we really struck gold here, but maybe I'm speaking a bit too soon. Let's see if we can even get things to load up correctly. I'm hoping we boot straight into the Windows Media tool. It looked like for a second there we did. That would be an awesome sign. Come on, man, don't make me look like a chump in front of my friends. Yes, it worked. I had to sweet talk it, but it worked. We are loading into that bootable media tool. Oh, that is awesome. There we go. There was nothing wrong with this system in the first place. What a steal for 40 bucks. Okay, that's great. It is detected, and let's go to next. You're gonna start installing maybe? Yes, it's installing, woo! Okay. That was surprisingly simple. It's not as old as I'm making it seem, is it? It's not like, I mean, it's not like Core 2 Duo old or anything. It's like I said, this is probably a Core i5 2500, maybe like a 3570 if we wanted to go a generation new, but I don't think it's 4000 series. I'd be pretty surprised at this price point if it was 4000. Now, while Windows is setting up, I want to discuss the value of this rig. Obviously, I paid $40 for it, so on paper, it's worth, what, $40 or so, but we could probably get more than this just by parting the system out. Again, I suspect that the previous owner thought that this rig was defective, which is why they priced it so low. The DDR3 by itself is probably worth 10, 15 bucks, somewhere around there. The platform as a whole, considering we have a working Core i5 and a motherboard included in that, that's going to bring us close to $40 all in by itself. The power supply is probably worth 5 or 10 bucks at the most. The DVD drive, maybe a few bucks. The case isn't going to be worth much. But, you know, the fact that all of this is included in one working rig out of the gate is actually, I think that's awesome. It just keeps the, you know, maintenance down. It's already fairly clean. Maybe upgrade the CPU cooler if you want to have a quieter system. But overall, this works. And would you look at that? We are in Windows. CPUZ saying this is a Core i5 3570. This is a generation newer than I was expecting. So we're on Ivy Bridge here. Not bad, 22 nanometers. It's a decent 4-core CPU. It also runs incredibly quiet at idle, considering we have this cheap CPU cooler installed. There is, however, a fair bit of coil whine coming from the motherboard power delivery area. Not the end of the world, just something to note with these older systems. The next logical question then should be, in my eyes, what happens when you pair a $40 desktop with a $50 discrete graphics card? Although it is relatively weak in late 2023, this card is actually vital for this rig because it doesn't require supplemental PCIe power. You can see normally you'd have a 6-pin here, something like that, but it is empty, and that's because this card can actually run at near full throttle with just PCIe slot power. So we're gonna insert this, install drivers, and see how it fares in 3D Mark TimeSpy. To be clear, nobody's expecting earth-shattering performance here. However, for under $100 all in, I expect this to present a unique value proposition. Well, okay, not quite sub 100. We can't forget the cost of a storage drive. So out with the tiny and in with the still tiny, but not as tiny. Looking for that satisfying click. There it is. It does look like drivers are installing fine. That's a good sign. Now remember, TimeSpy is a 1440p synthetic, so this is really gonna tax the system. Definitely not ideal, and that's why our frame rate's around like 10 or 12. It's bad. But I just want a baseline here, and then we can also test Firestrike after this, which is a much more relevant synthetic in 1080p. I'm sure most of you won't be shocked at all by this, but better than 3% of all submitted results definitely wasn't on my bucket list. Again, this is TimeSpy. This system really isn't prepared for 1440p synthetics. Let's see how much better it does in Firestrike. And yes, as I expected, 30 to 40 FPS is much, much better for around a $100 PC. Our score came in at 5644, and with some context, that places us better than 21% of all submitted results. Now, this still looks abysmal, and in fact, it is. We'd likely need to lower resolution down to about 720p for this $100-ish rig to make a lot of sense. But just think about this. We spent around $100 and we're getting better results than a fifth of all systems tested in this suite. That's not terrible. And it's certainly not where I expected this video to head. This thing is an absolute champ. For $40, it packs so much potential. Yes, it's old. Who cares? I mean, it's $40. Like, come on, like that's almost like a, you know, a Big Mac meal at McDonald's nowadays. So for $40, I'm super happy. In fact, I almost feel guilty. It's fairly obvious to me that this owner either just slapped the same label on multiple listings and wasn't really sure of what they had here, or they straight up misdiagnosed it. Maybe they're just not super familiar with computer parts, but from the photos that I saw on the listing, I knew that if this only had a missing drive issue, I mean, that was gonna be a super simple fix. And in that case, it shouldn't really have been labeled a 4 parts sale. It's just a bring your own drive sale, and that's actually quite common for systems like these. For security purposes, it's something you should consider practicing as well. Either way you slice it, this was definitely a fun video to make. This is sort of out of character for me, but I just happened to come across a listing that I thought would be appealing for a video, but also for the price. I mean, there's not much downside, right? I mean, it's $40. Heck, it even included free shipping somehow. Like, this person that sold me this, I mean, they really did us a solid, to the point where, like I said, I almost feel guilty over it. I wasn't gonna say this in this video, but I actually purchased another system from them, and it was a very similar description. It's a similar pre-built as well. I think it's from a different manufacturer. It might be HP this time around instead of Lenovo. But it said the same thing. It just was, you know, missing a drive essentially, but they suspected that the rig was just not working, like it was defective and should be sold for parts or scrap. Again, one man's trash, another man's treasure, but I want to reach back out to the seller and see if they'd be at all interested in taking these back. I'm not even worried about the $40. If they want to cover shipping and take these back, they totally can. I'm not in the business of ripping people off or taking advantage of a situation like this, especially not now in the position that I've been blessed with, thanks to all of you. So we'll see. That other one is coming up because I bought these together. I didn't want to throw them both in the same video, but I am excited nonetheless to dive into the second one. That's going to be coming up very soon. If you enjoyed this one, give it a thumbs up. Consider shopping on eBay if you want to, you know, experiment with some $40, $50, $100 OEMs. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with these. Toss in a discrete card, call it a day, maybe upgrade the power supply. They're pretty fun. And if you've got, you know, a couple $100 to just throw around and have some fun with, maybe make it into a viable machine, they're definitely worth considering, especially in this market where things are getting so cheap in the used space. Check out the links below, and I will catch you in the next one. My name is Greg. Thanks for learning with me.